Welcome to The Self-Led Woman. This is a podcast about emotional eating, the experiences that shape our relationships with food, and the path back to self-leadership. These conversations go beneath behavior, held with deep respect for the wisdom of the body and the ways it learned to cope, adapt, and survive. And when we can peel back those layers and meet the parts of ourselves that need care, we begin to see that food was never the problem, and we can return to who we really are. I'm your host, Megan Darnell. Let's dive right in. Today, I want to talk about comparison. This is not foreign to any of us, but I want to talk about it through a different lens or in a different way. Because I don't think that comparison is about vanity. Well, it's not. But I think comparison is about belonging. It's about safety, and it's about what we learned was acceptable. What got praised when we were younger, what got rejected, and what got mirrored back to us. And when you understand it that way, things can start to shift. Belonging is not just an emotional need, it's a nervous system need. When you feel like you belong, when you feel accepted, chosen, and safe within your group, within your community, your nervous system regulates. And it stops scanning for threat or danger. And when you feel like you don't belong, your nervous system treats that as danger. Not metaphorical danger, actual danger. Because for most of human history, being cast out of the group meant you didn't survive, particularly when we lived in tribes. And your nervous system, and I've spoken about this on other episodes, your body has so much intelligence and it knows far more than what we can explain or what we can rationalize. So the drive to belong and to fit in and to be acceptable and to not stand out in the wrong way, that's not weakness, that's biology. And when we think about when we go through puberty as young girls, and I find this really fascinating, but our estrogen rises during puberty, and it doesn't just change our bodies, it increases social attunement. That's what estrogen does. It makes you more agreeable. It makes you more attuned to how others see you. If you remember back to when you were a teenager, like how much did you care about what other people thought of you? So you become more sensitive to belonging and rejection. And when girls are that age, they become acutely aware of themselves through the eyes of other people. Like, have you noticed how teenage girls dress exactly like their friends? I used to do the same clothes, same slang, same hairstyles, same everything. And we can maybe write that off as herd mentality or as shallow, but it's not. It's a nervous system response. A young woman's biology is saying stay inside the tribe, stay safe, stay chosen. That is adaptation and intelligence. But when it doesn't stop there, so many women carry this adaptation into adulthood without questioning it. And this starts much earlier. It starts from us being groomed to be the good girl and to just do things that are going to get us love, attention, or approval. Again, that belonging piece. But when we're in adulthood and we haven't ever questioned this, we're still doing things for belonging instead of for ourselves. Like we're still dressing for belonging. We're still maybe eating certain foods, exercising in a way that might be, great for someone else, or trying to look like someone else, trying to fit yourself into a box that might have been considered ideal or you belonging to a particular group, and measuring yourself against women whose nervous systems, trauma histories, hormones, support systems, and life circumstances are completely different to yours. Social media has also made this so much worse because it's not just about comparing what someone's wearing or bodies. We then start to, it is amplified to what other women eat, their morning routines, their skin, their supplements, their nervous systems, their healing journeys, their productivity, their relationships. And the more we go into that world, women slowly lose touch with themselves, trying to become copies of other women that they were never meant to be. And here's what I need you to understand. 2 women can eat the exact same thing and have completely different experiences, different nervous system responses, different hormone profiles, different trauma histories, because this all plays in, different stress loads and different support systems. A woman carrying chronic stress and unresolved trauma with little to no support is going to have a completely different relationship with food than a woman who feels safe and regulated in her life. A dysregulated body is going to crave things differently. A body that feels hypervigilant, like it's always scanning for danger or looking for worst case scenarios to happen, will metabolize food differently, will metabolize emotion differently. A body that doesn't feel safe will seek quick comfort, quick energy, quick numbing out, quick relief, quick regulation, and food is very reliable at doing that. They'll choose whatever works fastest. So instead of understanding that, women then moralize themselves and they say things like, I don't have any discipline. What's wrong with me? But the body is just trying to survive. It's doing exactly what it learned to do. And interestingly, when estrogen starts to decline later in life, kind of the opposite can happen, or a lot of women describe things like suddenly feeling very angry or more reactive, less tolerant, like something has been unleashed. Sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's actually rage. And the story that we tell ourselves, or the stories that I hear, the narrative I hear online, is that it's the hormones causing the anger. But I don't think that's quite right. Estrogen functions kind of like a veil. It helps women to tolerate things they should have never had to tolerate. It keeps you being agreeable, keeps you people-pleasing. The boundary crossing are manageable. So when that veil lifts, the anger that was always there, it finally has a voice. It's not new, it's just finally being heard. And this is why healing work matters so much, because if you've spent decades abandoning yourself to stay belonging, stay acceptable and stay safe, it catches up with you. And also I want to preface this by saying that as human beings, we have 2 needs. One is to feel like we belong. One is to feel like we have community and connection. And the other is to be authentic. And obviously that will change or feel different across cultures, because some cultures are more focused on collective culture and other cultures like ours are more individualistic. But we need both. So I want to tell you a story about a personal experience I had and how this relates into my own relationship to comparison, because this was really big. And I have mentioned it on the podcast before, but we're going to go there again. So in 2022, I had a therapeutic MDMA journey. And I went in with the intention to forgive my mum. I've always had a very challenging relationship with my mum. we don't have a relationship now. And one of my biggest wounds, hey, there are many, but one of the biggest ones was around my body. My mum was very beautiful and very thin. And there was always this underlying message that I never quite lived up to her expectations. But what I didn't consciously realize back then until that journey was that underneath everything was a younger part of me that genuinely believed if I can just become thin enough, beautiful enough, perfect enough, my mum will finally love me. That was the wound. And that's what children do. They interpret their parents' limitations as there must be something wrong with me. Not my parent has their own unresolved pain or they lack emotional capacity. Children think, I'm not lovable. And my thought process was, well, if my own mother couldn't love me in the way that I needed, the younger parts of me look for evidence of that everywhere. In the mirror, in comparison to other women's bodies, in whether I stayed on track that week. But going into this journey gave me so much more than I went in for. So to begin, it took me back to every single memory that I could think of over my entire life, of every challenging experience I'd ever had with another woman. Tiny memories, things I hadn't thought about in years. Things like my year 2 art teacher yelling at me once, probably for talking, to be fair. And here we are. But in my mind, I was saying to every single one of these women, I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. And then it went the other way. It showed me every moment I had judged another woman or compared myself or been unkind or been insecure. And I said to each and every one of them, I am so sorry. And I send you love and healing energy. And then I turned towards myself and I said to myself, I'm so sorry for every single mean thing I ever said to you or I ever said about my body. And I love you and I forgive you. And then it showed me all these women all around the world from all different cultures, different ages, different lives. And all of these women that I could see were carrying these suitcases. And some of them on their backs, some holding them, some on their heads, someone like dragging them behind them. And these suitcases were a symbol of their pain. Body shame, comparison, all of the pain that they'd ever endured, mother wounds, the pressure to be beautiful, the pressure to hold everything together. And I said to all of them, I send you all love and healing energy, and you don't have to carry your pain anymore. It was one of the most profound experiences of my life, and it was deeply, deeply healing. And all of this happened in probably a space of 5 or 6 hours. So I went home after that weekend, and on Monday morning, I got up to go to the gym like I normally do, but I went into the bathroom to get dressed, and probably since I was at least 13 years old, I would get up in the morning and look at myself in the mirror, and I would stand in front of the mirror and criticize my body and tell myself I was disgusting. Saying your stomach's disgusting, because it's exactly what my mum would say to me, and I internalized that voice. So that morning, I stood in front of the mirror and I cried. And I said to myself, I love you and I'm so sorry. And I thought, my body's done nothing for me but love me and keep me alive. And that was kind of the end of the war with myself. And the thing that I noticed afterwards, after all of that healing, is that I stopped comparing. I used to look at every woman that I would pass in the street, every woman I would have an interaction with, and think, is she thinner than me? Is she more beautiful than me? Like, and did she have what I was wanting? And what did that mean about me? And I stopped looking at other women in that way. And everyone just became human again, and it just changed the way I saw the world. Like, women are all on their own journeys, carrying their own suitcases. But when you're looking through the eyes of pain, your pain will be projected into everything and everyone. It doesn't even have to be direct. It doesn't even have to be conscious. It doesn't even have to be spoken, but it's happening. And when healing happens, that's when things begin to soften. So this is part 1 of this episode. Part 2 will come next week, where I actually want to talk about what actually becomes possible on the other side of this. What it looks like to stop trying to become someone else and come home to yourself. And just a few more little stories of my journey and how I've navigated that. Obviously, there's the healing work, but there's some fun stuff in there as well. There's lots of fun stuff, actually. So I'll see you in the next episode. This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only, and is not a substitute for therapy, medical advice, or professional health care. If this episode brings up anything difficult for you, please consider reaching out to a trained healthcare professional, therapist, or support service. In Australia, you can contact Lifeline on 131114 or the Butterfly Foundation National Helpline on 1800 33 4673, which provides support for people experiencing eating disorders and body image concerns. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated, please follow or subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Megan Darnell Therapy. If you share the episode or want to let me know what landed for you, you're always welcome to message or tag me. I love hearing from you guys. Until next time, I'm Megan Darnell, and this is The Self-Led Woman.